Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take these next 15 minutes and really listen, because I believe this is a moment that can shift your life. Let's talk about your mind, because your mind is the battlefield. Every single day you're in a war. Thoughts of worry, fear, insecurity, and doubt come at you like arrows. But just because a thought shows up doesn't mean you have to believe it. You have the power to say, no, I'm not thinking that way today. The way you think will determine the way you live, and if you want victory in your life, it starts in your mind. And while we're at it, let's talk about your attitude, because your attitude is your altitude. Too many people are waiting for circumstances to change before they decide to be happy. Let me tell you something. You can have joy even in the middle of a mess. You can have peace even when things aren't perfect. If you walk around with a bad attitude, blaming everyone and everything for why you're stuck, guess what? You're going to stay stuck. But when you choose gratitude, when you wake up and say, I'm going to have a good day no matter what, doors will open that you never saw coming. And listen, I don't care what your past looks like. You are not who you used to be. Some of you are still carrying chains that God already broke off of you, and you're still walking like a prisoner when you've been set free. Your past doesn't define you, your mistakes don't own you, and the opinions of others don't shape your destiny. It's time to shake off the guilt, shake off the shame, and start walking in confidence. And finally, I want to challenge you, don't just go through it, grow through it. Whatever season you're in right now, I promise you, God can use it. That difficulty, it's building strength. That delay, it's teaching patience. That rejection, it's redirecting you to something better. The question isn't, why is this happening to me? The real question is, what is this preparing me for? When you shift your perspective, you'll realize that even in the hardest moments, God is working all things together for your good. So I want to leave you with this. Your thoughts matter. Your attitude matters, your confidence matters, and your growth matters. You've got 15 minutes in the world today. How are you going to use them? Choose joy, choose faith, and watch what happens. Thank you and be blessed. Does this speech capture the energy and encouragement you were looking for? Let me know if you'd like any tweaks. Your mind is the battlefield. Win the fight. Every single day, we wake up and step into a world filled with challenges. Some of them are external: work stress, family struggles, financial worries. But the biggest battles are the ones happening inside our own minds. It's not just about what's going on around you, it's about what's going on inside of you. If your mind is filled with fear, doubt, and negativity, it doesn't matter how good your circumstances are, you will still feel stuck, hopeless, and defeated. But if your mind is strong, if your thoughts are full of faith, hope, and confidence, even the hardest seasons won't be able to break you. The truth is, our thoughts shape our lives. What you think about yourself, what you think about your future, what you think about your situation, it all determines the direction you go. You can't live a positive life with a negative mind. You can't expect to walk in joy and peace if your thoughts are full of worry and anxiety. Some people are asking God to change their lives when what they really need to do is change their mindset. Because listen, if you don't win the battle in your mind, you will never win the battle in your life. Let's be honest. Sometimes we are our own worst enemies. No one has spoken more negativity over your life than you. No one has doubted you more than you. No one has criticized you more than you. We think things like, I'm not smart enough. I'll never be successful. I'm always going to struggle. Good things happen to other people, but not to me. And then we wonder why we feel stuck. But here's the truth. Just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean you have to believe it. Just because a lie knocks on the door doesn't mean you have to let it in. You have the power to reject thoughts that don't align with truth. You have the power to replace fear with faith. You have the power to stop thinking like a victim and start thinking like a victor. It's a choice. The enemy wants to keep you stuck in a cycle of toxic thoughts, because if he can control your mind, he can control your life. But today you can say, enough is enough. I am taking control of my thoughts, and I am choosing to think differently. Maybe you've been battling anxiety, thoughts that make you feel overwhelmed, thoughts that keep you up at night. Maybe you've been battling insecurity, thoughts that make you feel like you're not good enough, like you don't measure up. Maybe you've been battling discouragement, thoughts that tell you nothing is ever going to change, that you should just give up. Whatever the battle is, I want you to hear me. You do not have to live this way. You can take authority over your mind. You can start fighting back. So how do you win the battle in your mind? First, you have to recognize the lies. If a thought is making you feel hopeless, worthless, or afraid, it is not from God. If a thought is stealing your joy and peace, it is not from God. If a thought is causing you to doubt yourself and your future, it is not from God. The moment you recognize a toxic thought, you have to reject it. You don't entertain it. You don't dwell on it. You replace it with truth. Instead of thinking, I'll never get through this, you say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, you say, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Instead of thinking, nothing will ever change, you say, all things are working together for my good. Your words have power, and when you start speaking truth over your life, your mind will begin to shift. It won't happen overnight. It's a process. You've spent years thinking a certain way, so changing those patterns will take time. But every time you choose faith over fear, confidence over insecurity, truth over lies, you are winning the battle. You are taking ground. Imagine what your life would look like if you stopped believing the lies and started believing the truth. Imagine waking up with peace instead of anxiety. Imagine walking into every situation with confidence instead of fear. Imagine seeing yourself the way God sees you, strong, capable, chosen, and loved. That is what happens when you take control of your mind. That is what happens when you stop letting your thoughts run wild and start taking charge of them. This battle is not easy, but it is worth it. And the good news, you don't have to fight alone. God is with you. He is fighting for you. He has given you everything you need to overcome. But you have to make the decision, are you going to keep letting your thoughts control you, or are you going to rise up and take control of them? The choice is yours. So today, right now, make the choice to think differently. Make the choice to reject the lies and replace them with truth. Make the choice to take authority over your mind, because your thoughts shape your life. And if you win the battle in your mind, you will win the battle in your life. Your attitude determines your altitude. That might sound simple, but it is one of the most powerful truths you will ever hear. Your attitude, how you think, how you respond, how you handle challenges will either lift you higher or keep you stuck. You can have all the talent in the world, all the opportunities, all the resources, but if your attitude is negative, bitter, or resentful, none of it will matter. A bad attitude will drag you down faster than any obstacle ever could. But when you choose the right attitude, no matter what is happening around you, you will rise to the opportunities that your hand on the world. You will achieve greatness, and whatever is, you will rise to the opportunities that your hand on the world. You position yourself for growth, for success, and for favor. The reality is we can't control everything that happens in life. People will disappoint us, plans will fall apart, unexpected struggles will come. That's just part of life. But what we can control is how we respond. Some people go through the same difficult situations, but one person comes out stronger and the other comes out bitter. What's the difference? Their attitude. One person decides to learn from it, to trust that something good will come out of it, and to keep moving forward. The other person lets it make them angry, resentful, and stuck in the past. The truth is, your attitude is a choice. It's not based on what's happening around you. It's based on what's happening inside of you. You can wake up every morning and decide, I'm going to have a good day. Or you can wake up already expecting things to go wrong. Guess what? However you expect your day to go, that's usually what happens, because your thoughts shape your actions and your actions shape your life. If you are constantly expecting the worst, complaining about everything and focusing on what's wrong, you will stay stuck in that cycle. But when you shift your mindset and say, I'm going to look for the good, I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to make the best of every situation. Then suddenly things start to change. Some people think, well, if my circumstances were better, I'd have a better attitude, but that's not how it works. A bad attitude doesn't change when life gets easier. It just finds something new to complain about. Have you ever noticed that some of the happiest people in the world don't have the most money, the best jobs, or the easiest lives? Yet, they have joy, they have peace, they have contentment. Why? Because they've learned that happiness is not about what you have, it's about how you think. On the other hand, some of the most miserable people are the ones who have everything they thought they wanted, but they are still negative, still complaining, still discontent. That proves that circumstances don't create happiness, your attitude does. Maybe you've been stuck in a negative mindset without even realizing it. Maybe you've been blaming other people, blaming your past, or blaming your situation for why you feel the way you do. But today, I want to challenge you. Take responsibility for your attitude. Stop waiting for things to change before you decide to be happy. Decide today that you are going to shift your perspective. When things don't go your way, instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Start saying, what can I learn from this? When someone offends you, instead of holding on to bitterness, say, I'm not going to let this steal my peace. When you're facing a delay, instead of complaining, say, maybe this is protecting me from something I can't see yet. When you choose to see life through a lens of gratitude, faith, and trust, everything shifts. You stop feeling like a victim and start walking with confidence, knowing that everything, even the hard things, are working for your good. It's not always easy to keep a good attitude, especially when life feels unfair. But let me tell you, your attitude is a test. Every time you go through something difficult, you have a choice. Are you going to trust, or are you going to complain? Are you going to believe that there's a purpose in it, or are you going to stay stuck in frustration? Your attitude in the tough times determines whether you stay where you are or move into something better. Some people never step into their full potential, not because they aren't talented, not because they don't have opportunities, but because their attitude is holding them back. So what's your attitude like today? Are you always looking for the negative, or are you choosing to see the good? Are you walking around frustrated, or are you choosing peace? Are you complaining about everything that's wrong, or are you focusing on what's right? Because let me tell you, if you want to go higher in life, if you want to step into everything God has for you, it's going to start with your attitude. Today, make the decision to change your mindset. Speak life over your situation instead of negativity. Choose to be grateful instead of bitter. Choose to trust instead of worry. Choose to believe that something good is coming instead of expecting the worst, because when you do, you will see doors open, opportunities come, and favor flow into your life in ways you never imagined. Your attitude determines your altitude, so make sure it's lifting you up, not holding you down. Shake off the chains. You're not who you used to be. Too many people are walking around carrying the weight of their past, dragging guilt, shame, and regret behind them like chains they were never meant to wear. They are stuck in a mindset that says, this is just who I am, I'll never change, I'll always struggle with this, I'm too broken, too messed up, too far gone. But let me tell you something, those are lies. You are not your past, you are not your mistakes, you are not what people said about you. You are who God says you are. And He says you are redeemed, restored, forgiven, and made new. One of the biggest tricks of the enemy is to keep you looking backwards so you never move forward. If he can keep you focused on who you used to be, he can keep you from stepping into who you were created to be. But today is the day to shake off the lies, shake off the guilt, shake off the shame, and step into the new life that is waiting for you. The past has no power over you unless you choose to hold on to it. Maybe you've made some mistakes. Welcome to the club. We all have. Maybe you've said things, done things, or made choices that you wish you could take back. But listen, no amount of regret can change the past, and no amount of guilt can fix what's already done. So why live chained to something you can't undo? Why let your past mistakes keep you from the future that's ahead of you? The only thing you can control is what you do now. You can stay stuck, or you can decide, I am not going to let my past define me another day. Some people won't let you move on. They'll remind you of who you used to be, what you used to do, and where you used to go. But guess what? You don't have to prove anything to them. When you change, not everyone will be happy about it. Some people like the version of you that was broken because it made them feel better about themselves. Some people will try to pull you back into old habits, old places, and old patterns, not because they want what's best for you, but because they don't want to be left behind. But when you decide to step into who you were truly created to be, you will have to let some things and some people go. If you keep looking in the rearview mirror, you're going to miss what's ahead of you. Imagine trying to drive forward while staring at the past. You're going to crash. That's exactly what happens when you live life focused on yesterday. You can't fully embrace what's ahead when your mind and heart are still stuck on what's behind. The only way to move forward is to decide that you are letting go. Maybe you're thinking, but I don't feel different. I don't feel like I've changed. Let me tell you something. Change isn't based on how you feel. Change happens when you make a decision, when you decide, I'm not living in shame anymore. I'm not letting guilt control me. I'm not staying in the same cycle of regret. Change begins the moment you choose to believe that you are free. You don't have to wait to feel different. You have to believe that you already are. The truth is, God has already set you free. The chains that you think are holding you back, they've already been broken. The prison you think you're trapped in, the door is already open. You just have to walk out. You just have to make up your mind that you are not going to let old mistakes, old labels, or old ways of thinking keep you bound another day. Maybe people still see you as the person you used to be, but that doesn't matter. What matters is how you see yourself. What matters is whether you are willing to walk in the new identity that has been given to you. If you keep calling yourself by your past, you will keep living in it. If you keep identifying with your old struggles, you will keep repeating them. But the moment you start declaring, I am not who I used to be, I am new, I am free, I am redeemed, everything will start to change. It's time to shake off the chains. It's time to stop letting your past dictate your future. It's time to step into the new version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more confident. Yes, you've been through some things, but that doesn't mean you have to stay there. Yes, you've made mistakes, but that doesn't mean they define you. You are more than your past, and your future is waiting for you to step into it. So today, make the decision, let go of what's behind, walk in freedom. Stop letting shame, guilt, and regret hold you back. You are not who you used to be, and the best is yet to come. You were made for more. Don't settle where you are. Deep down, you know there's something greater inside of you. You feel the pull, the stirring, the desire to step into something bigger, something better. But too often, people stop short of their potential. They settle for less than what they were created for. They get comfortable in the familiar, afraid to step into the unknown. But you were not designed to live an average, ordinary, stuck-in-a-rut kind of life. You were created for greatness, for impact, for a purpose that goes beyond just existing from day to day. The biggest enemy of your next level isn't failure, it's comfort. It's easy to settle where you are. It's easy to stay in a situation that's familiar, even if it's not fulfilling. It's easy to stay in a job that drains you, a relationship that limits you, a mindset that keeps you stuck. But just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's where you're supposed to stay. Growth requires movement. It requires stepping out of your comfort zone, taking risks, and being willing to go beyond what feels safe. Too many people live their lives waiting for the perfect time, waiting until they feel ready, waiting until all the pieces fall into place. But let me tell you something. If you keep waiting for everything to be perfect, you will be waiting forever. There will always be reasons to stay where you are. There will always be excuses to play it safe. But if you never take the step, you will never see what's on the other side. Fear is one of the biggest reasons people settle. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. But listen, fear is a liar. It will tell you that you're not good enough, that you don't have what it takes, that you'll never make it. And if you believe those lies, you'll stay exactly where you are. But what if you stopped letting fear call the shots? What if you decided that even if you don't have all the answers, even if you don't know exactly how it's going to work out, you're still going to step out in faith? Think about this. Every great thing that has ever been accomplished started with someone who refused to settle, someone who refused to accept that where they were was all there was, someone who believed there was something greater ahead and was willing to take the risk to go after it. That same mindset is available to you. You don't have to stay where you are. You don't have to accept a life that feels small and unfulfilled. You can decide right now that you are going to pursue everything you were created for. Maybe you've convinced yourself that this is as good as it gets, that you should just be grateful for what you have and stop wanting more. And yes, gratitude is important. You should always be thankful for where you are, but gratitude and complacency are not the same thing. You can be grateful for what you have while still believing for more. You can appreciate where you are while still knowing that this is not your final destination. There is more ahead, and if you stop now, you will never experience it. Some of you have dreams that you've buried. You've told yourself it's too late, that you missed your chance, that you're not qualified. But let me tell you something. As long as you are breathing, it is not too late. That desire in your heart, that's there for a reason. That vision you can't shake, it's not random. Stop talking yourself out of the very thing you were created for. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep making excuses, keep playing it safe, keep settling for less? Or are you going to make the decision that this is the moment you step into more? Because nothing changes until you decide. Nothing shifts until you take action. Your next level is waiting for you, but you have to be bold enough to go after it. Don't settle for a life that is smaller than what you were created for. Don't settle for fear, for doubt, for mediocrity. You were made for more. Step into it, walk in it, believe for it, because the best is yet to come.